Manhattan, New York City. They say the city wakes up fast, like it resents sleeping at all. I'd parked the rig just off Delancey Street. Narrow streets. The kind that make a guy like me, 18-wheeler deep into a 700-mile haul, feel like threading a needle with a sledgehammer. The morning air carried the usual stink, exhaust, piss, stale pretzels, and that river rot you get near the docks. The dispatcher hadn't called yet. I was early. The warehouse was dark, shuttered. So I waited. I'm Kel Dawson, 43. Long-haul driver out of Allentown, Pennsylvania. Divorced, 2 kids I barely get to see. I wasn't supposed to be in Manhattan. The route changed last minute. Someone else called in sick, or just didn't show. Doesn't matter now. The radio was talking about a medical lockdown in parts of New Jersey. Something about CDC teams and isolated aggression incidents. I didn't listen. You hear crap like that every week. Swine flu, bird flu, rat flu, whatever gets clicks. But I should have listened. A garbage truck rumbled by, missing its back gate, bags of refuse spilling onto the street. A guy in a postal uniform darted across the crosswalk, glancing over his shoulder like he owed the devil money. Something felt wrong in the rhythm of the city. People weren't moving with it. They were moving through it, urgent, clumsy, anxious. I remember looking up at the sky. Not cloudy, not sunny, just wrong. That kind of weird yellow-gray where it looks like a storm is coming, but the air's still. Too still. That's when I heard it. A scream. Not close. Not far. Not one of those angry New Yorker yells, either. This was wet. Throaty. Like something was being torn open. I turned the key in the ignition. Just in case. A woman stumbled from the alley near the loading dock. I'll never forget her face. Her jaw was unhinged, like a python's. Her arms hung stiff at her sides, and her eyes. God. They weren't just empty. They were hollow. Like whatever was behind them had already died. She was covered in blood. Not hers. It was smeared across her blouse like she'd tried to hold someone together, and failed. I stepped out of the truck, half a foot onto the pavement. Instinct, I guess. That helped her reflex. One more step and I might have died right there. Because behind her came him. A man, shirtless, skin gray, ribs visible through his chest. He was fast. Not sprinting. Just determined. He hit her from behind, dragged her down. I saw her twitch, arms flailing like they wanted to swim out of her own skin. Then I heard bone snap, like a chicken wing pulled too far. I froze. I'm not a coward. But this wasn't a mugging. It wasn't drugs. It wasn't something my brain had a box for. It was a feeding. And I was watching it happen in the shadow of the Williamsburg Bridge. I backed into the truck, slammed the door, locked it. The engine rumbled, my foot trembling on the brake. My hands were cold. Real cold. Like all the blood had retreated. Then I saw more of them. Shambling figures spilling out from alleyways. Storefronts. Subway steps. Not running, just moving. Infected? Homeless? Druggies? No. These people were gone. Their bodies moved, but there was nothing inside. No fear. No hesitation. Just hunger. I tried to pull away, but traffic had locked like cement. Horns blasted. People abandoned their cars. One guy tried to push his way through in a delivery van, crushed a cyclist doing it. I looked down at my Glock 19. Legal carry. Truckers get harassed on the road. Figured I'd rather have it than wish I did. I took it from the glove box, checked the magazine. Full. For a few minutes I just sat there, watching. Listening. The screams weren't isolated anymore. They were everywhere. I saw a woman pounding on my cab's window. Blood on her hands, tears on her face. She was begging. Screaming something, couldn't hear through the glass. I unlocked the door. That was my mistake. Because right behind her, crawling over the hood of my truck like a nightmare in slow motion, came one of them. A man in a tattered security uniform, with half his jaw missing. Flesh peeled down to the bone. But he didn't stop. He lunged. I shot him point blank through the windshield. The crack spidered out across the glass, and he slumped. Not down. Not dead. Just stunned. I fired again. And again. It took 4 rounds to drop him. The woman screamed louder. I pulled her in. Locked the door. She sobbed on the floor while I tried to navigate around the wreckage of Midtown. No power. No cell signal. Police channels were static. The woman, Rachel, I think, couldn't reach her husband. Her kid was at school. She kept whispering. He was just 10. I asked if she wanted to look for him. She said no. She said he was already gone. She'd seen it happen. We stopped to look for supplies. I had my pry bar. She had nothing. Inside was worse than outside: blood smears, overturned shelves, someone's foot in the vitamin aisle. Just a foot. We found water, a flashlight, a first aid kit. I took painkillers and a knife. Then we heard the shuffle. They don't growl like the movies. They moan, slow and bubbling, like lungs full of sewage. You feel it before you hear it, like the air changes temperature. Rachel ran. I didn't blame her. But they were already in the street when we came back out. Dozens. Maybe more. I fired. Once. Twice. Then stopped. Because every shot brought more. We ducked into an old laundromat. Door barricaded with a soda machine. Lights off. The stink of detergent and blood in the air. Rachel curled into the corner and cried silently. Me? I just watched the door. And that's where we stayed. For hours. The light from the front windows was turning orange. Dust hung in the air like ash, catching the glow. It looked like sunset, but it wasn't. It was smoke. Rachel hadn't spoken in over an hour. She just sat in the corner, arms wrapped around her knees, rocking slowly. Her sobs had dried into silence. I crouched near the door, Glock loose in my grip. I'd counted the shots. 5 rounds gone. 10 left in the mag, 1 in the chamber. That was all I had between me and the swarm I could still hear outside. Moans. Scrapes. Shuffling feet. Like the whole city was dragging itself past this broken laundromat, sniffing for the living. And then the thought came, simple and sharp. The truck. It was still out there. Parked 4 blocks east. A Kenworth W900, cab over, midnight blue with chrome trim. I called her Baby Belle. Hauled her across the country and back. She'd survived Wyoming ice storms, West Texas hail, and that one time I hit a moose outside Flagstaff. If I could get back to her, fuel her up, break the hell out, I might make it. I might actually live. But I'd need supplies. And weapons. And God help me, I'd need to be fast. I knelt beside Rachel. She didn't flinch. Hey, I whispered. I'm going back for my truck. She blinked slowly. You're what? It's the only way out of this place. If I stay here, I'm dead. If you stay here. I didn't finish. Her lips trembled. They took my son. I know. I don't want to die in a laundromat. Then don't. She didn't respond, but her eyes changed. A little less broken. A little more there. Come with me, I said. We hit a hardware store. A pharmacy, if we're lucky. We take what we can carry. Then we get to that truck, and we run. And if they're already there, she asked. Then we make noise. Get him chasing. We loop, double back. I've got keys. I've got a plan. I have nothing, she whispered. You have me. I didn't know why I said it. But it felt true. We moved like shadows, ducking between burned-out cars and broken bus shelters. The city was gutted. Sirens blared and died. Helicopters circled like vultures overhead, but none landed. None helped. The hardware store was already half-looted. Glass crunched under our boots. Shelves overturned. Blood on the linoleum. We moved fast. I found a crowbar, 2 machetes still in packaging, a box of flares, and a camping hatchet. Rachel grabbed duct tape, flashlights, and a small pry tool set. Then we found the real prize, a locked backroom. I jammed the pry bar under the latch and heaved. The wood cracked. Inside, dusty shelves and a locked cabinet. I smashed it open. Shotgun. Mossberg 500. Short-barreled, pistol grip. Box of shells. 12-gauge. Slugs and buckshot. I almost laughed. I handed it to Rachel. She shook her head. You take it, she said. I've got the Glock. This is for close quarters. If they get that near, you don't aim. You end them. She took it. Hands shaking. But she took it. We hit a nearby bodega for food. Most of the good stuff was gone. I loaded my duffel with what remained. Beef jerky, canned beans, a few energy bars, bottles of water, a pack of cigarettes I didn't need but wanted. Rachel found a small med kit behind the counter. Bandages, painkillers, antiseptic. Good enough. And then we heard them. Moans. Loud. Close. I peeked out the shattered door. 10 of them. Maybe more. Staggering toward us from the direction of the laundromat. They were following our scent. Our sound. We bolted out the back. The truck was 2 blocks away. 2 long, wide-open blocks. She sat at the curb like a waiting warhorse. Dented, scratched, beautiful. Someone had tagged the side in red spray paint. Dead inside. I ran first, duffel bouncing against my hip, machete in my other hand. Rachel stayed behind cover, waiting until I waved her forward. I reached Baby Belle and flung open the driver's door. Still locked. Still whole. I climbed in, slid the key into the ignition, and held my breath. She roared to life. My heart nearly burst. Rachel sprinted down the sidewalk, zombies pouring around the corner behind her. I screamed, "Get in!" She dove through the passenger door, slammed it shut, racked the shotgun with shaking hands. I punched the clutch and dropped her into first gear. And then we drove. Right through them. I floored it. Felt the bump of bodies against the grill. The truck didn't care. She just moved, relentless. Steel and diesel and rage. We were alive. We were rolling. And for the first time since that morning, I felt something new. Not hope. Not yet. But momentum. We barreled down 11th Avenue like the devil himself was chasing us. And maybe he was. In my side mirror, the city burned. Plumes of smoke curled into the bruised sky. Sirens howled like dying animals. We were hauling 30 tons of steel and diesel through a concrete graveyard. I knew the Lincoln Tunnel was a gamble. If it was blocked, we were screwed. If it was swarmed, we were dead. But I had no other way off this godforsaken island. Bridges were gone, either collapsed, blown, or crawling with things that used to be human. Rachel clutched the shotgun in her lap like a lifeline. Her knuckles were white. She hadn't said a word since we hit the highway. Neither had I. Sometimes silence is the only way to keep from falling apart. The ramp to the tunnel was cracked, littered with abandoned vehicles. But it was clear. No barricades. No patrols. No dead. Too clear. I slowed. "What is it?" Rachel asked. My fingers tightened on the wheel. "Feels wrong." We rolled through the shadow of the tunnel entrance. The truck's headlights cut through the black like blades. That's when the first shot hit. My side mirror exploded. I hit the brakes hard. Rachel screamed. For figures stepped out of the gloom ahead, two on either side of the lane, behind the cover of an overturned taxi and a burned-out SUV. Bandits. The first one yelled through a loudspeaker. "Step out of the cab. Hands up. Leave the keys and walk away." Another fired into the air. They looked half-wild, military surplus gear, scarves over their faces, rifles that had seen too many hands. Their eyes gleamed in the darkness. Desperate. Predatory. Rachel looked at me. "What do we do?" I looked at the Glock in my lap. 10 rounds. One shotgun. Maybe a hatchet in the back. They had ARs. Cover. Position. We were screwed. I killed the lights. Killed the engine. Silence swallowed us. "Maybe they'll just take the truck," Rachel whispered. "Let us go." I almost believed her. Then one of them shouted, "You've got 10 seconds." A flare arced through the air, red and angry, landing just in front of us. It bathed the tunnel in bloodlight. That's when I saw it. The third guy had looped around behind us. They were going to surround. Kill us. Strip the truck clean. I reached for the door handle. "You going to surrender?" she asked. "No," I said. "I'm going to draw fire." But then it happened. 3 flashes in the dark. Suppressors hissed. Muzzles flared. Pop, pop, pop. The bandit on our left dropped, throat blooming red. Then the one behind the cab. One shot, clean to the head. I blinked, stunned, as the flares sputtered and died. Rachel whispered, "What the hell?" From the smoke stepped 3 shadows, moving like ghosts. Not National Guard weekenders. Real operators. Body armor. NVGs. M4S with thermal scopes. Tight formation, hand signals, clean shots. One of them carried a suppressed MP7 and swept left like he'd done this 100 times. "Clear," one barked. Another pointed at our truck, then raised 2 fingers, curled them in. We understood. "Come with us." Rachel and I stepped out slowly. My legs felt numb. My breath caught in my throat. The third commando motioned toward the bodies. "You would have been dead in under a minute." "Thanks," I muttered. "Appreciate the save." He didn't smile. "You're lucky we were tracking them." "Who are you?" Rachel asked. "Doesn't matter," the leader said. "You want to live? Get in. We're moving." We followed their lead, into the darkness of the Lincoln Tunnel. Our convoy now, a half-destroyed freight truck and 3 soldiers that moved like ghosts through the ruins. One of them climbed into the cab with me. Didn't say his name. Just checked my weapon, reloaded it with practiced hands, then nodded. "Stick close to the right," he said. "Keep your lights off unless I say." I glanced at Rachel in the passenger seat. We weren't alone anymore. And that was both comforting and terrifying. We emerged into smoke and twilight. The tunnel spat us out onto the Jersey side like it was done choking on corpses. The air tasted of ash and rubber. In the far distance, across the Hudson, the Manhattan skyline burned. A funeral pyre for a world that didn't know it was dying until it was too late. The commandos motioned us toward a small overpass. Debris had been cleared, clearly not by civilians. This was military precision and recent. A Humvee sat half-covered under camouflage netting. Another dead bandit was slumped near the barrier, a hole in his head the size of a golf ball. The leader took off his helmet. Close-cropped dark hair, sharp jaw, a long scar under his right eye like a pale crescent moon. Early 40s. Too calm. Name's Keller, he said. Captain, we're moving west. There's a fallback point. You'll ride with us. I nodded. Rachel didn't speak. We got out. My legs were jelly. My arms ached from white-knuckling the wheel. I still hadn't come down from the fight-or-die surge. Keller turned to one of his men. Scan the ridge. I want eyes north and south. If anything moves, I want it dead before it breathes on us. One of the soldiers, lean and twitchy, muttered under his breath. If it breathes at all. Rachel finally spoke. Where are we going? Keller looked at her, not unkind, but detached. A comm station west of Newark. Temporary base of operations. We're consolidating survivors. I didn't buy it. Consolidating for what? He paused, then said, containment. The word sat heavy in my gut. Like bad food. We followed the Humvee. Keller and his men didn't talk much. Rachel was quiet too, but I couldn't shake the sense that something was off. The younger commando, the twitchy one, kept eyeing us in the rear view. He was jumpy, tense. At one point, he whispered something to the guy next to him. I caught part of it. Shouldn't be bringing civilians. The reply was just a grunt. The comm station was a half-abandoned shipping yard. Crates stacked into walls. Floodlights wired into portable generators. 2 tents, a satellite dish, and a field table. But no other survivors. No civilians. Just a map covered in red XS and hand-scrawled notes. Most of New York? Gone. Staten Island? Burned. Manhattan? Total collapse. Brooklyn? Hot zone. Only a few green circles remained. Keller walked us toward the tents. One was clearly an armory. Locked tight. The other, a med station. Get some rest, he said. You'll need it. That's when Rachel snapped. Why are we the only ones here? Keller turned, calm as ever. Because the rest didn't make it. And what's really happening? I asked. His eyes didn't blink. You want the truth? I nodded. 4 days ago, the CDC went silent. They were trying to trace variant Theta, a neurological virus. Aggression spike. Loss of self-awareness. Reanimation postmortem. It started on the West Coast. Spread through airports. Fast. Controlled at first. Then someone tried to smuggle a subject through JFK. He exhaled. Security failed. So this isn't just infection? I asked. No, he said. It's weaponized. Rachel stepped back. Who would do that? Same people who always do, Keller muttered. People who think they'll survive what they create. 20:38 p.m. Tension rises. The twitchy commando Jenkins approached me later by the supply tent. You shouldn't be here, he said, voice low. Why's that? He leaned in. You're not part of the op. You're not cleared. You're not supposed to see what's west of here. I looked him dead in the eye. Try to stop me. He gritted his teeth and walked off. Later that night, I found Rachel outside the truck, watching the skyline. Do you trust them? She asked. No. Then why are we still with them? I looked at her. Tired. Pale. But stronger now. Harder. Because for now, they're better than what's out there. She didn't argue. But I could tell we were both thinking the same thing. What if the real danger wasn't the infected anymore? What if it was the people still breathing? I couldn't sleep. Rachel dozed in the cab, shotgun in her lap like a newborn. I sat by a burned barrel outside the makeshift perimeter. The fire cracked, casting long shadows across steel crates in silence. The world had gone quiet in a way it never should have. No cars. No planes. Just the occasional distant moan, like the dead were still learning how to grieve. I heard the footsteps before I saw him. Keller. He moved like a man who didn't need permission to breathe, not anymore. No helmet. No armor. Just a worn jacket, half-zipped, sleeves rolled. He looked more human now. Still dangerous. He stopped by the barrel, stared into the flames a long time before speaking. You still think I'm going to shoot you in your sleep? He asked. I didn't answer. He nodded slowly. Yeah, I would too. He pulled a small black sat phone from his pocket and tossed it onto the crate beside me. The screen glowed dimly, a message flickering on repeat. Command received. Stand by. Contingency Alpha invoked. I made contact, he said. South Command. What's left of it? They know about you too. They're not sending extraction. Not sending anything. I looked at him. Then what did they say? 3 words. He met my eyes. Hold and consolidate. That's it. The rest of the country's burning. Atlanta's gone. DC's overrun. Europe's dark. China never even admitted it started. There is no central command. Just outposts, scattered units, and people trying to not die. I stared at the fire. The heat didn't help. So what's your mission now? Keller took a long breath. Sat across from me on a crate. For a while, all I heard was the wind pushing ash across the concrete. My original objective, he said finally, was to escort a virologist from Manhattan to a secure lab in Ohio. Civilian asset. Priority package. Smart guy. Quiet. His name was Brandt. What happened? We lost him. His jaw clenched. He got taken during the first breach. Didn't even scream. Just gone. He paused, eyes distant. They kept sending new orders. New protocols. But they didn't match what we were seeing. We weren't containing anything. We were just delaying the inevitable. And now? I asked. Now. Keller's voice dropped. Now we stay alive. We adapt. We gather those who can hold a weapon and don't freeze when the screaming starts. The rest. He trailed off. We do what we can. But I'm not sacrificing my people for ghosts. I nodded slowly. Why save us, then? Because the rules are gone. The world's on fire, Dawson. There's no clean lines. No civilians and soldiers. Just 2 kinds of people now. The ones who can fight, and the ones who get others killed. He locked eyes with me. You fought. You stayed calm. You think I didn't notice you clearing your angles in that tunnel like a guy who's seen some shit? I drove trucks, I said. He snorted. Bullshit. You survived. That's your resume now. He stood up, shouldering his rifle. We're moving out at first light. There's a convoy we're trying to reach near Trenton. Or what's left of it. If you want to come, you're in. I looked up at him. And if we say no? He shrugged. Then don't. But you'll be dead by Friday. He turned, took 2 steps, then stopped. Oh, and Dawson, he said over his shoulder. If you do come, pick up something bigger than that pistol. We're past warning shots now. We rolled out in silence. The convoy was small. My rig in the back, Keller's Humvee up front, a 3rd vehicle they'd salvage overnight, a beat-up Ford utility truck armored with scrap metal and desperation. I rode up front with Rachel beside me, I scanning every building, every intersection, like the windows might blink. The highway was gutted. Cars charred to skeletons. Signs pockmarked by bullets and smoke. It felt like driving through a battlefield, but the battle was already lost. Keller's voice crackled over the comm. Echoes 20 minutes out. Eyes up. Radio silence once we're close. I thumbed the mic, copy. Rachel glanced at me. Echo. This place. What is it? Supposed to be a survivor camp, I said. Temporary holding zone. Then they send people to a secure underground bunker west of Trenton. Her voice was low. You believe that? I didn't answer. We hit the outer fencing first. Tall chain link with razor wire. Torn in 3 places. No guards. No warning signs. Just an eerie silence, broken by the occasional flap of a tarp in the wind. The vehicle stopped. Keller stepped out of the Humvee, scanning with his rifle. His men fanned out fast, clearing angles, checking shadows. Military discipline, but even they were tense. Their movements were too careful. I joined them. Rachel stayed close, shotgun tight to her shoulder. The checkpoint looked abandoned, but not looted. Still intact. Like everyone had just vanished. Where's the gate crew? I asked. Keller didn't answer. We passed through the checkpoint. Empty tents, stacked crates, a mobile field kitchen, untouched. Coffee cups still sat on tables. A game of cards mid-hand. And blood. Not a lot, but just enough. Spatters near the mess tent. A trail into the supply shack. Private McMillan, the youngest in Keller's squad, opened the shack door. We smelled it before we saw it. Rot. Sweet, thick, and wrong. Inside, bodies. Stacked. Slumped. Some shot. Some torn apart. Not barricaded. No bite marks, said Keller, squatting by a corpse. Gunshots. Controlled. Back of the head. Rachel stared in horror. They executed them. Not all of them, muttered Jenkins, the twitchy one. Some of these, they were restrained. Look at the zip ties. I turned away. I couldn't look anymore. What the hell happened here? I asked. Keller stood slowly. His voice was ice. They had a breach. Someone got infected. Maybe more than one. They panicked. Didn't know who to trust. He paused, then said something that hit like a hammer. Echo didn't fall. Echo killed itself. The words echoed through the camp like a final breath. "Captain," said Diaz, the comms guy, holding up a receiver. "We've got a transmission. Weak, but real." He clicked it on. Static bled through, followed by a fractured voice. "This is Delta 6 to any Echo survivors. We are moving the convoy. Repeat. Underground access point relocated. Avoid checkpoint Echo, contamination risk confirmed." The message looped. Rachel's face twisted. They knew. Keller looked at us. They knew, and they left it behind as bait. To slow the infection. Buy themselves time. I asked the question no one else would. "Are we still going after them?" Keller looked toward the horizon, as if he could see the bunker through the smoke and lies. He nodded once. "Yes. Because if they did make it, then that's our last chance. And if they didn't?" He looked back at me. "Then we dig in. And we build something that lasts." We crested the hill just north of the meeting point, an old industrial rail yard south of Trenton, half-choked in rusted containers and broken track. A perfect place for a convoy to stage before moving to a hardened location. Or a perfect place for an ambush. We rolled in tight formation, my truck taking the rear, Keller's Humvee leading, the utility truck tucked in between. Dust kicked up behind us. The smell of diesel and sweat thickened the cab. "Something feels wrong," Rachel said beside me. Her voice was sharp, focused. I didn't disagree. The yard looked too still. No signs of life. No movement. Then Keller's voice came through the comms. "Positions. Something's off. Weapons up." We slowed. And then all hell opened up. Gunfire tore through the still air like ripping metal. High-caliber rounds slammed into the utility truck, sparks and blood everywhere. The Humvee's windshield spidered from a direct hit. Screams over the radio. Chaos. Shouting. "Contact left. Sniper on the container stack. We're boxed in. They're on the North Ridge." I threw the truck into reverse, ramming through a fence line to give us cover behind a collapsed loader. Rachel pumped the shotgun and fired through the shattered passenger window. One bandit dropped, a scarred face and wild eyes, before disappearing behind the metal. Keller's team dismounted under heavy fire. Private Diaz went down with a shot through the thigh. McMillan pulled him behind a barrel wall, but they were pinned. The radio was jammed with noise, then came Keller's voice, strained but calm. "Break contact. South building. Go." We ran. Cover fire was minimal. Everyone was running low. Jenkins was hit in the shoulder, bleeding badly. I saw him stumble behind the corner of a cement office building. The rest had already pushed past. He collapsed near a wall, dragging himself. I didn't think. I just moved. I dropped my pack, hauled him up under one arm. He grunted in pain, blood soaking his sleeve. We staggered across the cracked pavement, bullets sparking off steel all around us. "Go, man," he gasped. "Just go." "Shut up and walk," I growled. "I don't do hero speeches." We dove into the warehouse ruin as more gunfire shattered the windows above us. Diaz slammed the door behind us and slumped to the floor, white with shock. We were in cover. Barely. The ammo count was grim. 2 mags left for Keller. 1 for Jenkins. Shotgun half spent. My Glock was almost dry. Rachel crouched next to a window, watching the yard. "They're moving in," she whispered. Keller leaned against the wall, blood on his cheek, rifle low. "This is it," he muttered. "We hold here. Die here if we have to." Nobody argued. Silence. Then the radio crackled. A voice, deep and crisp, cut through the static. "This is Ranger 1 Actual, 75th Regiment. Hearing gunfire. Who's down there?" Keller scrambled to the mic. "Captain Keller, Echo Group. Ambushed at Delta 6 Yard. Survivors. Heavy fire. Pinned. Requesting support." There was a pause. Then, "Mark your position." Keller looked at me. I reached for the flare pouch. Pulled the pin. Orange smoke hissed into the air, curling from the busted roof vent. Seconds passed. Then we heard it. The thunder. A sound like God slamming the door of heaven. The 30mm auto cannon on the striker lit up from the ridge above the rail yard. High explosive rounds tore through shipping containers and ambushes like paper. Fire erupted along the northern ridge. Gunfire went silent. One bandit tried to run. He didn't make it 2 steps before he was dust. Then came the growl of engines. 3 Humvees. 2 strikers. Full strength. They rolled down the hill like steel beasts, American flags still dust-stained on their sides. We stepped out of the warehouse, weapons lowered, stunned. One of the rangers, a massive guy in full plate with an ACOG and a tattoo of St. Michael on his neck, walked up and clapped Keller's shoulder. "Looks like you pissed off the wrong group of assholes." Keller just exhaled. "Thanks," he said. The ranger nodded. "You're lucky. We were tracking looter bands through the area, some real psychos. Slavers, execution squads. They've been hitting survivor camps and supply lines." "Why?" Rachel asked. "Because they can," he said. "And because no one's stopping them." He looked at our people, bloody, battered, but alive. "We're heading to the bunker. Same as you. Need to restock ammo, fuel, food. You're with us now." Keller turned to me. "You heard the man." I looked around. Smoke still rising. The dead scattered. But the future, maybe it had some weight again. "Let's move," I said. Engines roared. Our convoy now rolled deep. 3 Humvees, 2 Strikers, and 1 bullet-scarred big rig rolling at the rear like the last horse in a cavalry charge. We had a destination. We had numbers. And for the first time since New York burned, we had a chance. We saw it before we believed it. 2 M1 Abrams tanks, dug in behind hastily stacked concrete barriers, their cannons pointed outward toward the tree line, blackened from recent use. A scattering of shell casings lay glittering in the mud, like gold teeth torn from the earth. Beyond them, the bunker doors loomed, massive, curved slabs of reinforced steel, scorched and pitted, but sealed tight. A dozen corpses lay in the open field ahead. Zombies. Some burned, others with limbs missing, all still. Steam rose from a few freshly dispatched. No one said a word. The convoy rolled to a stop, engines coughing into silence. A squad of soldiers stepped out from behind the tank line. Rangers, helmets off, rifles down but ready. "Hold position." One barked. "Weapons down. Hands visible." Keller stepped forward, palms out. "Echo unit. Survivors. We're with 75th. A moment's pause. Then a nod. The soldier tapped his comms and turned toward the door. A moment later, a deep metallic hiss filled the air. The bunker opened. A wave of sterile air hit us, cool, dry, filtered. The tunnel stretched ahead, steel walls, overhead LED lights, security cams in every corner. 2 more guards motioned us through. "You'll be taken to sanitary first," one said. "Stripped down, full deck-in, Medival. Standard protocol. No exceptions?" Keller asked. "None. We've had 3 near breaches in the last week." They weren't messing around. The corridor split. The wounded, Diaz, Jenkins, and 2 Rangers from the convoy were led off to the medical wing for priority treatment. The rest of us were directed into a chamber of stainless steel and humming vents. Decontamination. It was cold, brutal, efficient. We stripped. Everything: clothes, gear, weapons taken, tagged, and tossed into bins marked for sterilization. High-pressure nozzles blasted us with mist, then disinfectant, then ice-cold rinse. We stood there, half shivering, blinking under the harsh light. A medic passed through with a scanner. Pulse, respiration, pupils, arms out. They checked for bite marks. Bruising. Anything suspicious. Rachel flinched when they reached for her shoulder, but didn't resist. She passed. So did I. After 20 minutes, we were given gray military sweats, basic boots, protein bars, and water bottles. We were alive. And clean. We were escorted into a large, concrete-lined room with long benches and a single screen on the far wall. A map flickered to life, the eastern seaboard, riddled with red dots. A new voice spoke. "Welcome to FB Ironside," said a tall Ranger colonel, stepping into the light. "You're now part of Task Force Manicore, attached to the 75th Ranger Regiment." Keller stood at his side, arms crossed. The colonel went on. "The United States is gone in function, if not in name. We have no central command. We have limited air cover. But we have objectives. 1. Protect survivor hubs. 2. Eliminate looter factions. 3. Cleanse infected zones and secure clean corridors for movement and supply." He looked at us, calm but sharp. "If you're here, you pass through fire. That's all the resume we need." The Rangers returned our weapons, cleaned and oiled. Gave us fresh magazines. Field packs. Keller got a radio upgrade and command badge. We were in. No more outsiders. No more civilians. Task Force Manicore had new boots. Rachel slung her shotgun onto her back. "You believe this?" she asked me. I checked the slide on my Glock, feeling the cool weight of ammo again. "I don't care," I said. "As long as we're fighting the right side." She smirked. "And who's that?" I met her eyes. "Anyone not trying to eat us."